So the game is starting, and the map again is Daybreak.
Oh, change the screen resolution to the same as design resolution. So it's going to be way bigger. That's the thing that makes it bigger. Yeah, and the other tabs, there's like the text size you can change.
You good to go yet?
Yeah, I think I'm good to go now.
All right. So first we'll start off with player introductions. In the bottom left, we have the Zerg playing for ExG with a pretty kind of nasty name, I guess. I don't know. Pretty cool though. Baconaise.
Oh boy.
Mm-hmm. And in the top right, we have the Protoss playing for Blood Esports. In blue, his name is Magic. So off the beginning, we see that Magic's going for a pretty standard game. Pylon on the low ground, probably going to go for a Forge expand, maybe a Gateway expand. And it should be noted that this map is the ladder edition, so we do have 2 gas at that 4th base. It may come in later for the Protoss, usually. When they want to take a 4th, it'll be that front position, be a little stronger with that double gas, get also some center control, keep it away from the Zerg.
Yeah, I definitely think he's going to be going for this Forge expand, because if you were going to go for a Gateway expand, Pylon would be in the main. So I'm just kind of more curious to see as this mid-game starts to come into play, how Zerg's going to react to the Forge expand with either an early gas or that delayed 6-minute gas like Stefano enjoys.
Yeah, definitely. That 3 hatch into gas build's gaining a little bit more popularity nowadays. That early link speed helps a lot in getting that map control back away from that that Zealot Stalker push. And overall, it's pretty useful to have. You kind of do want link speed no matter what composition you go. Links with speed are always really, really nice, really good. And he's also planting a pylon at the natural that we just saw, and he's moving over his probe to the 3rd, so he expects the Zerg to play a standard game.
Yeah, I really think that the double pylon block is a really good strategy. It allows you to get a Forge and then your Nexus down before Zerg even has the opportunity to place a hatchery. So you do delay all of your buildings, but you're going to end up getting your expansion before Zerg has the opportunity.
And the Zerg, not really trying to take his natural right away. Obviously, it's blocked, and he's going to send a drone down now and probably start pecking away at that. May try to take his 3rd, but he's going to find out probe's blocked. But no, he's attacking the pylon. Make 2 sets of lings, pretty standard so far. Overlord sees the Nexus and cannon. So this should be really safe by the Protoss, and we'll see if the Zerg decides to take his 3rd. That's going to be really, really important.
As we see, doing this pylon block has actually afforded Magic a slight worker lead in the early game, because the Zerg did need to make 4 lings rather than the standard 2, so it's just going to help Magic out a lot going into the mid game.
I really do like this hidden probe, though. It's really, really cute in the top left between the gases. If you actually don't pass right by the probe, you actually won't see it because it's hidden within the gas. I think that's really nice, and something that he may use a little later, He can definitely, if it's not found, put a frontal pylon, maybe use it as a warp in later to harass the 3rd. But as we can see, the Nexus is coming up now, and we need to see those gases at the natural. Those will probably tell us what his build's going to be, and we kind of have to wait. And right now, it's kind of in the Protoss' hands as the Zerg takes his 3rd hatch at his 3rd.
Yeah, as I said earlier, the Cybercore is pretty delayed here because of that pylon block, but we're going to be able to see what Magic wants to do, and from right now he hasn't taken a lot of early gas, and he's chrono boosting his +1, so I would expect to see maybe a +2 blink all in, or maybe even just a 4-gate into some sort of a transition.
You say that the +1 is being upgraded, and I entirely agree. It's going to be some sort of ground attack. That +1 doesn't really make sense if you're going to go something like Stargate as much, unless you're going to do maybe something with Zealots and Stargate units, but that's kind of old. And as he's building a Stalker, you might be right with that +2 Stalker attack. Is that something you often see on this map?
Yeah, it's growing in popularity, because Protoss has started to get flustered with what Zerg has the capability of doing, so they're starting to do stronger all-ins, And like the 7 to 8 minute blink all-in's pretty strong.
I was just wondering, the hell? I was wondering about something. He's taking 3 gas at 6:30. Do you think that's a little delayed, or is that normal for a Zerg? Because usually you see it around 6 minutes with the Stefano build, also with the Roach Warren, and we haven't even seen a Roach Warren going down either. So, what do you think about that?
This is actually more of the Korean style of Zerg. They go 3 gas at 6:30, and then they get their Roach Warren down by 7 minutes. I think it's fine, but it's a little bit weak against any sort of quick 4 gate.
Okay. What do you also think about the drone count? Because right now the Protoss and the Zerg are even, and usually, you kind of want to see that Zerg ahead. He kind of needs that econ, and the Protoss is right now taking the 4th, and with the Protoss a slight worker lead with 4. How do you feel about the Zerg's position right now? I mean, he's making a lot of slowlings. He doesn't have speed yet. No upgrades on the way. What do you think?
Well, Magic did a really good fake. He was chrono boosting his cyber core, faking the 4 gate, which elicited the response of making all of these circlings. But it's going to backfire on Magic because once speed kind of comes in, the 3rd base for Magic is going to be extremely vulnerable. And here we're going to see the Lings pushing into this 3rd.
Do you think that this is the right call, though, making all these Zerglings? I mean, right now, Magic's putting that gateway wall up, and with sentries there, do you really think this is going to work?
No, I think he needs to wait for speed, but like I said earlier, this is a response to seeing that possible 4 gate, getting those later 3 gases at 6:30, which means that he couldn't make roaches. He had to make a lot of slowlings so that he could actually not just die to a 4 gate. But I think Magic is in a really good position here.
Do you agree with the couple of mortals that he's making? I mean, they're a little blind, and I don't think he has an ob yet. Oh, no, he does. He's flying around the natural now. What do you think the proper response is from the Zerg? Is it to take a 4th, or is it just to power some tech right now? Because he doesn't have very much tech as it is.
The way I like to deal with an early 3rd is I like to take an early 4th and start double upgrades. I think that's probably your best transition. And then slowly get into your infestation pit, because you're going to need a lot of minerals later on in the game to start your spine crawler walls, as well as pump out lings.
Alright, and as we see in the 10-minute mark, he's already starting pathogen glands. That's he's going to have those infestors out. He's also making a couple of roaches right now. He's trying to harass with those Zerglings. But unfortunately, he's going to meet a sentry at the wall-in, so he's not going to be able to do too much. He's also Magic is also getting a hallucination and a warp prism, and he's asking for a pause. Whoop. What do you think about getting both hallucination and the warp prism? Usually I think hallucination would probably use as a scouting tool, make some Phoenix, and scout around what the Zerg tech is. But with the addition of the warp prism, what do you think about that?
I actually really like hallucination for late game, because that way you can definitely keep tabs on what Zerg's army comp is, because observers are slow, and you don't want to dedicate robo time any longer to making another observer if your first one gets caught, as well as the fact that they just can't see enough of the map, so the hallucinated Phoenix is a really strong play.
Alright. What about the just having one observer thing? Typically a lot of other non-Protoss players will, say, oh, get more observers so you can see around the map and stuff, and some Protoss opt to only get 1, some opt to get, 2, others opt to get a couple more. What do you think the right number of observers is, especially for this map, because there's 2 main attack paths with the north and south?
I would say that if he's getting hallucination, then he only needs 1 observer, but if his observer was to have scouted maybe a Spire in a Muta transition, then he would have wanted 2 or maybe even 3 observers to be able to keep tabs on where the Mutas would have been going. But as the way the game's playing out, I think 1 observer is perfectly fine.
He's actually going for some Warp Prism harass, or at least using it as a tactic to keep the Zerg in his base. I think this is really cool. While he gets that Templar Archives, kind of like using this Warp Prism to power up kind of tech, in a way. I think that's really cool, and if he can keep these Warp Prisms alive, now he has 2, he can use them later on to warp in a lot of Zealots into the main or the 3rd. And as we can see, the Zerg still doesn't have a fourth. And are you starting to worry for the Zerg? You know, is he going to fall back on really, you know, like cheap units and kind of just fall when he doesn't have that fourth base that he needs?
Well, unfortunately, he doesn't have a fourth. That's kind of a misstep by him. I would have loved to see it go down a lot earlier, but the good news for the Zerg is that Magic is doing the kind of new meta style, which is Archon Chargelot Immortal. So a strong Roach Infestor with Neural Parasite composition, or even like a decent number of Lings, can deal with Magic's army. So I don't think the Zerg is out of it yet.
Well, we can see the Stargate starting and the Hive almost starting together. So usually he's probably going to have a mothership by the time those Broodlords are out. But right now he's moving out with a lot of Lings. And Magic's moving out with a really, really small army. I don't know if I agree with this. His force fields better be really, really nice if he's going to live. Or he's just going to back off.
I'm glad he backed off, because if 3 Infestors were there, they would have just completely destroyed the Century count, making his Immortals and Archons completely vulnerable to the large Ling numbers.
Do you also agree with the Protoss unit composition? I mean, he only has like 3 Zealots with charge. You know, that's kind of a very low number for a guy who's going to go charge. Do you think he should have more Zealots in his composition?
I think that what Magic should really be doing is trying to establish his own fourth and using his minerals to establish cannons and good building positioning, because he wants to get up that really strong gas force, which is, you know, the Archon, Immortal, Sentry build. But here he comes with a lot of Zealots, and he looks like he's going for a kill strike, but I don't know if this is going to work.
Yeah, we can see the Zerg at 188 food. The Protoss is at 166. And I don't know right now. You know, he's going to get fungal to death. The Immortals are shooting Lings. I don't think that's really cost effective. And we can see that almost the whole army is surrounded right now.
Yeah, these Archons that are going to do extreme work, and I think there's just a huge upgrade deficit occurring right here, because our Zerg player only has 1-1-1, 1 melee, 1 range, 1 carapace, and it just showed how quickly the Zealots sliced through that entire Ling army.
Do you think that maybe with better fungals, more infestors, he would be able to hold us off? You think he's lost the game yet?
I'm pretty sure Zerg is lost. Unfortunately, what he did is he was playing right into Magic's strategy, which is going for that heavy charge lock composition to deal with large Ling armies rather than the more standard previous metagame of large Roach armies. Like a Roach army would have done so much better against that that Zealot Archon Immortal mix rather than just a mass Ling Infestor army.
You can see the supplies right now in the Protoss' favor, also taking a fourth. The Zerg does not have his fourth yet. And, you know, if you were in this position, you know, what do you do? Like, how do you get back in this game?
Well, as Zerg, when you get behind you, turtle and go Broodlords. I think that's Baconaze's best play. I think that he, unfortunately, is hitting the panic button a little bit, and he's just trying to mass out units with Infestors to try and counter push, but it'll be thwarted because the mothership should be out. There's going to be starting to build up a Void Ray number, and even getting the air tech weapons for Protoss, so...
Yeah, that's actually kind of weird. You don't always see those air Protoss weapons, but in this game, I guess you will. And you know, starting Blink at the 17:30-minute mark, you know, apparently no Stalkers this game. It's kind of weird to see a Protoss never go Stalkers. You know, most Protoss really do love their Stalkers, and it's kind of the core of most compositions for Protoss. But this Zerg's taking his fourth, kind of slowly pushing out, and you know, starting to make those drones again. If you look at the drone count, it's 58 to 78 probes, and you know, the Zerg is definitely behind. He has to pull something out of his hat, but I don't know if he can.
Yeah, he's now starting 7 Corruptors, which will eventually be Broodlords, but I think that the Zerg just is not being greedy enough. He responded to a greedy Protoss build with defensive units that did no damage, so he really needs to either flip on that greedy switch or kind of try and push quickly, because the mothership's going to be out, and that's just going to spell defeat.
When you say that greed, do you mean like taking his fourth, his fifth, you know, sixth?
He needs to take as many bases as he can physically take right now, because he's going to get bases denied. His army comp is behind. His upgrades are behind. So what he needs to do is start trying to like shift his
Catching
economy
these
back
bullets
and
really
forth.
helps.
It does, but Magic is actually sacrificing him to replace with gas units. Like